Namaskara. Hello, everyone. Many of you have approached me asking for few of the specifics of what it takes to set up a small hold farm starting from the scratch, right? There are two ways to look into it. One, you buy an empty land and then set up everything from scratch, or you could go for ready to kind of like stay farmlands. Basically you would have all the crops being set. There is a farm house, so essentially you go and then buy it for a certain amount of money. So today I am going to talk about a farm which you have to kind of like build it from the scratch. I'm giving an attempt. Hopefully, I can cover few of the major points that you need to be aware of while you are purchasing a small hold farm, right? So let me put three key things, in this, right? One is pre-purchasing work that you need to be focusing on. Second is registering. While you register, you need to be aware of few things. And then very important is post purchasing efforts that you need to be doing, right? Now let me now focus on pre-purchasing work that you should do. Is first and foremost, it's about selecting a place, which means selecting a farm land area, right? Now if you are urban bound, I would suggest you should look for maximum 1 to 2 hours of drive from where you are living, right? Just to take my example, uh, I have my small hold farm around 1.5 hours of drive from where I used to live in Bangalore. So that's an convenient way for you to go on a weekends, right? Specifically if you are working, that makes more sense for you to invest in such places. When it is more than 2 hours of drive, which essentially means you will not be able to go on a regular basis, and you will not be able to kind of like implement your vision of farm of the future, right? So that's number one. I also took almost 2.5 years before I finalized on the farmland that I was looking into, with more than 35 plus different places I looked around, right? So for you, you need to have patience, number one. Also you need to look at the criterias, right? I mean, I went to kind of like look into places which was like 4 hours from my location. I said no. The land was nice, but the approach was really long for me to really take that decision. So that's very important. Second one is when you go to a farm and you think it's a right farm for you, look for water source. Either there should be a natural source of water, let's say canal or other facilities, or within the land you should have a potential point where you can actually go for a bore well, right? Which means while you are looking for land, um, if you are not an expert of water sources, I would suggest invest in a person who can help you in identifying the right water source. So third, important point is soil. But soil is again depends on the choice of crop that you are, going for, and also the practice, which is very important. Let's say if you are looking for organic farm, then for you to register under a organic certification body, they would actually look for residual impact. So essentially, if the farmer before you have put in lot of fertilizer or chemical sprays, you will not be able to get organic certification quickly. So look for soil and also the kind of history of the soil over there. um, Next important point is on the legal and paperwork. Uh, I suggest without this, do not go for any investment at all. Because farmland comes with high level of inheritance disputes, because you need to know the farm family and the history of the family, so that you would know there is no further farm disputes come into picture. So getting the legal paperwork cleared is foremost thing that to happen. um, I have put it as a last point in my, in here, but it is very important. I consider this as a first thing is talking to the villagers, right? Let's say if you are finalizing on a village where you want to kind of, purchase, go and then talk to those villagers, put yourself into their shoes, because the culture of every village is different. And they would consider you as part of the village if you show that credibility and trust to them. Else you will never be successful in establishing your farm in the village where you are purchasing the land. So these are all, like, I would say, major pointers that you need to consider. The second foremost thing is registration work. I will not get into the details of this because when you have a lawyer to help you in navigating through this process, they will let you know. But typically, I just want to give you steps. So you would give a token advance, get the access to all the documents of the form. Uh, if there is no enough papers, the documents, then you have to go to either registration authorities, or from the seller you need to ask for more details, for example family tree, all the details, and then you agree for date of registration and then get it registered. And once you register, take all the original documents with you, right? So these are all, I would say, major steps that you would do while you do the registration work. Now, next important thing where I would focus more on is post purchasing work. A lot of things has to be done, right? First and foremost is get fencing work done. Don't go for a lot of investment in fencing. I still haven't gone for a fancy fencing. It's a just a fence where, just to tell you where is the border that you have, right? However, key thing here is to give prior notice to adjacent landlords so that they are comfortable while you put the fencing bars. Um, Second step will be, once you get the fencing done, go for water source. So I would suggest look for scientific way of getting water point. If you are going for a borewell, go for a trustworthy borewell, borewell companies, so that you get the right point, and then also a good source of water. um, Third and most important thing is, because you are looking at 1 to 2 hours of drive from where you are, you need to have a small farmhouse where you could actually kind of like live the day, or 1 or 2 days, right? Since you have invested a lot, I would suggest don't look for luxury. Just the purpose is staying, that's all. Yeah. um, then fourth and important point is approaching electricity board and getting both house electricity and also motor electricity, because they are two different entities. You need to ask for both of these separately, right? Last but not the least is farm plan. So I would suggest take pen and paper, or use a a whiteboard to start mapping your farm. So I actually did, like, I think some 10 different farm plans for my farm, where I drew it on a whiteboard and said, okay, here is where I want to have my agroforestry. Here is how I want to have my the horticulture plants. Here is how I want to intercrop, etc. In this process, I would suggest reach out to as many as agriculture experts that you are aware of, right? uh, to give you an example, I met a lot of my juniors who were in scientists in some of the key Indian institutes within Bangalore region. And then I also met a lot of my own friends who are either agriculture officers or in private firms, who actually guided me on what are the best opportunities that they think I should go for. And then I also met a lot of my seniors who have their own startups. They guided me a lot on what are the different options that I should be looking into. Fourth, I also listen to my villagers, right? They do provide a traditional, farm plan options. Because whenever I have spoken to them, they spoke about monoculture, either go for millet crop or let's say, a specific one crop, which is like, like areca nut, etc. That's okay, but that's not what would provide you a sustainable option in the future, right? So you have to go and then talk to multiple people, come back to your white paper, scratch off things that you think are not relevant, and then update it. So finally you end up in a beautiful plan for your farm, right? So that is what I suggest, for you to do from a planning of farm. And don't hurry. I took 3 months before I came up with a plan for my farm. So I'll talk about my farm plan in a while. Next, let's move to investment thesis, right? Specifically from a cost. I wouldn't call it as cost, but the money part of the farm planning, right? So again, it depends on which part of the country you are in. There are three investments that you have to do. One is you have to invest in farm, then you have to invest in registration process, then you have to invest in post purchasing, right? Basically, like getting established in the farm. So within the farmland investment, again, as I said, depending on which part of the country you are living in and which specific places you are, opting, anywhere between 10 to 50 lakhs per acre is what you need to look at, right? If you are, let's say, from an other side of the country, let me say it's around 15 to 55,000 US dollars that you need to invest in 1 acre of land in India, right? So that is one option. There is another option is you could look at leasing. It's not that reliable, but still you can say you lease a farmland for 5 years and then pay them on a basis. But again, it's not your farm, right? But you can at least try out few things. The last option now, which I have seen increasingly being talked about, is managed farmlands. If you are around Bangalore, I suggest look for Hosachiguru, which has got managed farmland services. You just have to buy an acre of farmland. They will help you in kind of establishing that as a farm, right? So look for their website for more details. Getting back to the investment, the registration investment is all about your lawyer fees that you have to pay, and then registration office fee. For example, you have to pay stamp duty on the per acre, and registration charges that you have to pay. So thumb rule is, I would say it's around 10% of land cost would be needed for you to register a land, right? Now that's about registration investment. The last part is about post purchasing. Basically, for you to build a farmhouse, water source, like for example, borewell, fencing, and initial farmland operational cost, etc. That would come to around 10 to 15 lakhs for 2 acres. I would say around 15 to 20,000 US dollars would be something that you need to look into, right? So that's in nutshell about what it takes for you to kind of like establish a small hold farm while you are looking at it from a scratch, right? Now, coming to my own farm that I'm currently owning, we have now put half an acre of agroforestry, wherein around more than 600 forest trees are being planted over there. Um, the types varies between, let's say, mahogany, teak wood, and even fruit trees like mango, cashew nut, etc. are part of this agroforestry concept. And then quarter acre of land where I have now got 30 hybrid coconut plants. It's called as DJ Sampurna. And then as an intercropping between these coconut, I have now got 250 drumstick plants. So that's how I am looking at short-term and long-term, profit of these quarter acre. Then next quarter acre is all about fruit orchard, where I have got guava and sapota, 50 guava and then 15 sapota plants. Then I have got another quarter acre, half acre of land on arecanut. So around 250 arecanut plants, again intercropped with tissue cultured banana. So around 380 of banana plants are now intercropped between both arecanut and also on the guava plantation. So around 380 of them. So that's my farm. Now, if you look into the concept here, there are short-term, crops. For example, drumstick is going to yield every twice in a year. So I'm going to get yield from that on a regular basis. Banana plants are going to yield me in a year of time. So there is a another layer of protection for my revenue. Then long term, let's say around 2 to 3 years, my coconut plants and also my guava will be ready for with their harvest. Further long term, let's say around 10 years down the line, my agroforestry plants would give me timbers. So that's my kind of like sustainable planting that I have done. And then there is a small land where I'm also getting daily needs that are needed for my farm family over there. So there is that space also. And 90% of the farm is now drip irrigated. Thus I'm able to kind of manage water source on a regular basis. That's all. Let me pause here. It's a long video. I think this is my first long video in my YouTube channel now. So I hope this will be useful. Feel free to reach out. Feel free to let me know what could have been done better, and happy to learn from you and then do differently. But bottom line for me is about you know if you want to be a change agent in smallhold farming, please go ahead and invest. It's a hard work, let me tell you. It is a painful job because you need to be in the farm for you to make it work, right? It takes your energy, but when you are touching a soil, you all those pain that you are going through will be like relieved, and you feel part of the soil, and you really feel why it is important to be very near to the soil in your life. Thank you so much. Have a nice day.